The Vancouver Canucks have been a staple in the NHL for over 50 years, their major league origins beginning at the Pacific Coliseum. The Coliseum has stood on P&E grounds since 1968, housed 2 Stanley Cup finals, and was a key factor in the NHL coming to Vancouver. But how did it get here? In the early 1910s, the Denman Arena was built, one of the first artificial ice rinks in Canada. This was home to the Pacific Coast Hockey Association's Vancouver Millionaires, who won the city's only Stanley Cup in 1915. The Millionaires would then lose the Stanley Cup Finals in 1918, 1921, and 1922, and would dissolve in 1926 after the PCHA's professional players were sold by league executives to the expanding NHL. After the PCHA franchise disbanded, the first Pacific Coast Hockey League was established, where the minor league Vancouver Alliance played from 1928 until 1931. The team folded, then came back in 1933 with the Northwest Hockey League, then left that league for the second PCHL in 1936. Also in 1936, the Denman Arena burned down, so the new home of hockey became the Vancouver Forum. The Lions went on to win 3 league championships, though the team and league disbanded in 1941, as many eligible players were off fighting in the Second World War. During the war, there were various amateur and semi-pro teams in the city, one of which was sponsored by hotel operator Coley Hall. In early 1945, Hall leased the Vancouver Forum from the P&E, and this began the era of the Vancouver Canucks. The third iteration of the PCHL granted Hall a franchise, and the Canucks joined the then amateur league for the 1945-46 season. The PCHL operated as an amateur league until 1948, when team owners voted to become a professional minor league, still under the wing of the Eastern NHL. After merging with other minor teams from the Prairies, the league changed its name to the Western Hockey League in 1952. After the transition to the WHL, the Canucks were highly successful, only missing the postseason once in 1957, the same year Hall sold the team to the P&E, remaining as general manager. The team won the 1958 President's Cup with a roster including Phil Maloney, who played over 800 games to the WHL Canucks, and the league's top rookie, future NHL Canucks captain Orland Kurtenbach. The Canucks won the President's Cup again in 1960 before the franchise took a dark turn. Hall left to start a franchise in San Francisco, and the team lost an estimated $45,000 after finishing last in the WHL Northern Division in 1962. Former Vancouver Mayor Fred J. Hume purchased the team after the horrific season, though the team did not improve much. Attendance at the Forum was dwindling as the building fell into disrepair, and despite Hume losing thousands of dollars as team owner, he still advocated for the construction of a new NHL-worthy facility. This was granted in 1965, when the Canadian government financed the build of a new arena, though Hume would sell the team to a business group months later in anticipation of an NHL expansion bid. The bidding to join the NHL's 1967 expansion group began in February 1966, and though Vancouver was the only Canadian city involved, the bid was swiftly denied. Nevertheless, Vancouver did not lose hope. In January 1968, the Pacific Coliseum opened as Vancouver's brightest jewel. The Canucks had a revived fan base and energy, winning back-to-back league championships in 1969 and 1970, shortly before the team would be granted Major League status. After 25 seasons and 6 championships between the PCHL and WHL, the Canucks were awarded an NHL spot for the price of $6 million. The first professional Major League Hockey game in Vancouver since 1926 was played on October 9, 1970 against the Los Angeles Kings. The team has now become a cultural icon in Metro Vancouver and beyond, and while they have not achieved a Stanley Cup like their very early professional predecessors, they have gained a loyal following spanning generations. The Pacific Coliseum not only ended the WHL era on a high note, but was also the grand home of the NHL Canucks from 1970 until GM Place, now Rogers Arena, opened in 1995. Without these foundations, the Canucks might have been removed from the map entirely, a forgotten relic of what could have been. Instead, Vancouver has produced legends in modern ice hockey, all thanks to the actions of semi-pro and minor professional teams over half a century ago.